Red Sox first baseman. His nickname is Big Papi. So guess what my grandchildren call me? Big Papi. Anybody have any questions about leadership coaching and anything that I've been able to do over the years? Yeah.
You said you do this kind of conferences at Clemson and Furman. How do you adapt? Do you do this same kind of thing? Do you adapt it? What difference is there?
Yeah, great question. The way I approach the non-religious organizations, and there are, I'll call it a stained glass approach or a plain glass approach. So you've got to be, there's some institutions where you have to be careful because they won't let you. So, and I'll give you an example, and I think this will explain. The Greenville Chamber of Commerce, I did a plain glass approach. I talked about revenue leadership because that's my background, sales, right? But all of the principles that I talked about were straight from the Bible. And so at the end of the conference, I passed out a baseball card. And by the way, I've got one for you all too, if you'd like. And I got a business card and a brochure up there as well. But I've got my original Topps baseball card. So I passed out, and there may have been, I don't know, 60, 70 people in the audience. So I passed them all a baseball card. Well, on the back of that baseball card, I give my salvation experience about how I was saved in center field. And so while I did a plain glass approach, at the end of that meeting, I had 5 people come up after and want to talk to me. I know that you're a Christian. One guy, the very first guy I talked to, he says, Mike, I know you're a Christian. I have a son who's a baseball player. He's struggling right now. Would you talk to him? 2 days later, I'm meeting his son, just me and him, at Atlanta Bread, and we're talking about baseball, but more importantly, we're talking about Jesus Christ. His son is lost. So I get an opportunity to talk about Christ. So that's the kind of stuff that we're doing, is that it may be plain glass, stained glass, combination, hybrid, but we believe that if we make ourselves available as instruments, that God's going to open the doors, and He has. Just with that one example. Over at Furman, they asked me to do some entrepreneurial training. So I go in, I do a speech, I talk about Christian leadership, Worldview International, that here's where God, the burden that He's put on my heart, and I'm standing in front of a class of probably twice the size, and same thing. Then I get assigned a little pod of entrepreneurs, and I'm teaching and developing business things, but at the same time, I'm talking about Christ. So I am convinced that a marketplace ministry, whether it's entrepreneurs or athletes or student leaders such as yourself, I think that there's a place with a non-traditional approach to missions. I think that the Lord is going to accomplish a lot through this organization. So great, outstanding question. Anybody else thinking that anything you're now? If any of you, and I got to say this before we conclude, if any of you get on your little internet thing and you Google me and you look at my batting average, don't laugh. As I said, there was one plan that God had for me when I was in the minor leagues. I injured myself early on, within the first couple of weeks, and so I didn't play a whole lot. But they kept me around. They liked me, and they kept me around for the season. And of course, God had wonderful things. Time for just one last question or a couple questions. Anybody? Yes, sir.
How do you transfer from athletics into business? What was the main reasoning behind that?
Oh, yeah. If you are an athlete, this is my humble opinion, and I'm not saying that only athletes can take this path, because there are non-athletes that can certainly rise to the level of corporate America. But when you're an athlete, there is a dedication, an intensity, a team understanding of hey, my teammate has my back. So when you take teamwork, you take intensity, you take, just a drive, just a drive to want to be the best. There's so much application in the corporate world. There really is. It's the same thing. It's understanding the fundamentals, working really, really hard unto the Lord, and giving it your all. And that's really the transfer from, and again, it's not only athletes that, people can have that same drive, but I just know for me and the people that I was around in athletics, that they were very, very driven, successful people. And so I hope that helps. Somebody else? Yes?
What do you mean by that when you call what you started a mission board? Do you mean like you take on missionaries to support and they just go do speeches like this? What do you mean
Yes.
by that?
Yeah. Well, thank you. So we just started this organization. Lord has allowed us about 6 months ago. We have a website, and please encourage you to go on. We have a resource section where it'll talk all about leadership. There's articles, there's position papers, there's links to just good quality preaching. There's Christian poetry there's just a good solid resource section. So that's one aspect of this mission board. So what we're doing right now is we're modeling this concept within the local area. So I am sort of, let's call me the first missionary. I am going to model this. And what we hope to do as we build out the website, we build out the marketing and just really understanding the niche and how we're going to interact with organizations, we hope that someone else that has a burden for the marketplace, entrepreneurs, athletes, student leaders, they have a propensity to teach and to train and to be good leadership coaches. I hope that I get a phone call someday from a fundamental guy out in Seattle that said, hey, I really have a burden for this. I want to be a part of Christian Leadership Worldview. And so, again, we'll be the hub, just like any mission board is sort of the hub, and they send people overseas. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to be the hub, right, to send people all over the country that want to teach and train and leadership coach. And then eventually, we expect that we'll expand overseas with that same concept. So we're modeling it now. We're seeing some wonderful fruits on how we're going to go about it. And I should relate this very similar. There'll be a deputation approach, right? Some of it will, we'll charge nominal fees for, if we go into an organization and we've got, say 400 people that we're going to be doing some training for, and we'll charge some real nominal fee, to be the low-cost producer. So there'll be, Lord will provide revenue that way, but we'll also go out on the deputation chart and get other churches to support us and individuals as well. So it's really a three-pronged approach on how we go about raising the funding, and we believe that God will do that. Yeah, is that give you? Yeah, okay, good. Now, am I getting short on time here, or one more question? Okay.
I appreciate your stained glass, plain glass analogy. That's real helpful. As you talk about adapting in different environments, would you go with the approach of a plain glass that you add the stain? I mean, you add the Christian view, or do you go with the Christian perspective?
Yeah.
Coming through.
Outstanding. I love that question. So, and I'm going to rate up corporate, and then I'm going to come back. So in the corporate world, when you're sitting for the first time, or the first two times with a customer, as a vice president of sales, I'd go in, and what am I doing? I am surveying the environment. I'm asking 1,000 different questions, 1,000 different ways to learn about them, right? Because I can't close the deal if I don't know about them. And so it's the same thing with this stained glass or plain glass approach, is before I say, yep, I'll be there when you want me, 2nd August and whatever, I'm there. No, there's a lot of upfront work. There's a lot of information gathering. There's a lot of conversation about, okay, what are you trying to accomplish with your training? Tell me about your organization. Tell me about the people. You know, should we do it off-site? Can we do it on-site? You know, there's a whole bunch of ways to skin that cat, but you really need to do a good job on the front end to figure out what they want. Because what we're doing, it's a needs-based solution to leadership development, Christian leadership development. And so it's really what the customer wants is how we're going to handle it. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay, you're welcome. Okay, well, thank you very much. Been a privilege. This has been a dream for me, starting as a farm boy in Maine to being able to present to Bob Jones University students. So I really appreciate your time and your good listening. Thank you.